Now cylinder head installation. We've been through what it takes to do that, a couple of things anyway. Surface preparation. This is a tool, this is actually an ice scraper, but the recommendation is to use plastic scrapers. It is very, very difficult. It actually is working. You'll have to kind of take my word for that. Cylinder head and the block. Now if you send the block out for machining, these dowel pins have to come out. There's a hole in these are alignment. These are for alignment of the cylinder head with the block and the gasket. Those would have to come out. Sometimes you'd have to replace them. They're not easy. Some of them have a slot in them on the side, and you can compress them a little bit. They're not easy to get out without damaging them. In fact, you almost always do. And of course, this is the opportunity for real close inspection for cracks, if you can visually see them. And if you don't have engine overheating, you probably don't have anything to worry about on that. It didn't come in with that. There are ways to test all that. I don't think I've had you do that, but we'll let that go. So we're going to put our cylinder head on. So it should drop into place more easily. Now it would also be easier if the gasket hadn't shifted just as I got it close to where it goes. Now you'll feel when you get over those dowel pins, it should fall right into place. That one dead. That one dead. Just like that. Nothing to it. And then we drop our new bolts into the hole. They're I was looking for washers. I noticed these have the washers built into them. The washers, all they do is spread the load a little bit. There's a little more there. So we start in the center, work our way out. Today's adventure is getting the cams on and setting the timing. That's what we hope to accomplish. I set these on temporarily at the end of the last session. The cams, I did not put the life buckets in, so I'll do that now. Take these back off. One thing that's important is keeping track of where these go. On this Ford engine, most engines mark the camshafts for you, intake and exhaust. In this case, this is the intake. What differentiates this one, though, what makes it easy is you have the cam sensor on the intake, which is this wheel right here. Now the caps themselves are usually marked on most engines. This one I had to stamp these numbers in, so I put the 3 and the I on the front side of the cap so I'd have the orientation for front. that way, the front of the stamps. This cam is different. Toyotas, no, I was wrong. There are no bearings. It looks like a bearing. That's just a slot for where the oil circulates. So the cam runs straight on the aluminum of the head. We're going to drop that in there for now. We're going to take this back off and set the caps in, life buckets. I didn't bring a cart in today, so I'm stacking them up on the engine stand underneath. And there's the last one. Intake cam out. I'm going to set it over here for now, temporarily. And this camera, iPhone, you can see that there are no life buckets in here, so we're going to put those in. And we're going to just briefly discuss that. Remember in the beginning when we took this apart, we organized these. And then, so the intakes are up here on the top, exhausts are on the bottom, in sequence. To remember the sequence you used, the number one cylinder, so they're all marked, so we can't go wrong there. The sequence though really is, how were you looking at, what side of the engine were you on right now? I can't remember, so I didn't mark it, I didn't pay attention, so so I think I was maybe on the other side of the engine, and this was on my left and right. See how easy you can get messed up. One thing we need to remember on this also is when we're putting these back on in their same location they came off, it's only important if you haven't done any valve work on the heads. If you modify the head in any way by grinding the seats, putting new seats in, replacing valves, this clearance is not going to be correct, and you have to measure, and we've already done that exercise once. So I have them organized here, so I'm just going to put them in with the top on my left, but I don't know for sure if I was on the left side of the engine when I did these, or on the right side of the engine. And that's interesting. It doesn't want to drop in the hole. It should. This one doesn't either. So what's up with that? We'll go to number 2 and see if we have any interesting stuff here. This is the intake side. That one went in. This one did not. I'll continue. That one thing going on here is I don't have them lubricated. That would make a difference. So I'm probably going to have to, that's going in, so I'm probably going to have to tap it a little bit, and it's not freeing up side to side, so I can't get something a little more solid than my finger tips. That one doesn't want to go either. I haven't chewed on these since we took them out, so that's not it. So we're going to tap on that one, lightly of course, not a great amount of force. That went pretty easy. So now we're going to set the camshaft in. Now remember, we got all these lobes going for us. And we don't want to have any lobe pointing down, which would give us, you can see there, if we have any lobe pointing down, you can kind of see it in this one. We've got a big gap, and we'd be trying to pull the cam down with the bolts, and then you'll strip the bolts out. Can't do that. So there's a neutral position where the cam will lay in here. And again, I haven't lubricated anything, so it's testing me a little bit there. So there's a position or rotation where nothing is, no lobes are down there. So very carefully I looked at this. Now they're all of the journals, it's down tight in all of the journal holes in the head. Which is exactly what we want now. In order to keep your bore, the bore should be exactly the same on all. They use one bore to go do all of them. It's basically a big drill bit and you run all the way through. It should be perfectly straight. The rule always is put them back on in the same orientation from the front to rear and position that they came off. Subtle errors can get you in trouble. Theoretically, it should not happen if it's machined correctly. Any one of them should go any way. I've never experimented with that I recall. So we're going to snug all these down. Starting in the middle. Shouldn't make a lot of difference. One thing I've noticed, and just to give you a little tool hint here, students seem to forget about the extensions, and they've got just the socket on the ratchet. Well, that limits where your hands are. You're more likely to run into things and skin your knuckles, and guess how I know that? So I always, if there's room, put an extension on like this. It's starting to get a little bit snug, so it's kind of pulling just a little. The trick is you do get the head to just make contact, go to the other side. Get it to just make contact. And again, I'm right on the ratchet head itself. That's going to allow me to, if I put most of my strength into it, I'd be at about, well, not even that much, just until I start feeling a resistance, about 5 foot-pounds, which is just about right for these fasteners. These are, not 6, I think these are 7 millimeter, oddball stuff, typical of Ford. If anything's going to be a little bit not like everybody else's stuff, it'll be Ford. So everybody else these would be 6 millimeter. No, not on a Ford. That's 7. I ran into that. I had to do some rethreading on one of these. Just now making contact. Got that one. We'll go back here. It's a tedious job. Temptation is to just crank it on down. Well, here's what's going on. I'm looking. Yeah, let me show you that. Not the best of few. Yeah, here we go. Right here. That gap, the head's making contact. I'm getting resistance on turning. And I've still got a gap. The gap is not the same on this side as it is on this side of that cap also. You may not be able to remember. It's easier when you have both of your eyes on it instead of a darn camera. So we're going to go back up with this. This camera seems to be the best one for now for what we're trying to do. There. So we're gonna go, let's see, we did that one, this one. Having the same thing on all of them. This is normal. Reason, and how would that be? I had it in a neutral position where nothing was forcing a valve open. So I'm putting a little bit of effort on that. Now what's going to happen is when I go back to the center, these are going to be loose. So see, this is finger tight. I had it tight with the ratchet. This one's loose, this one's loose, this one's loose. So you keep doing that just maybe a quarter turn after the head makes contact. That's super loose now. So what do you think's going on? Why is that? It fit down in there nicely. All right, I'll help you out. We have these opening and closing ramps on the lobes, and it's one of the lobes is trying to open a valve. The secret on this is you gotta be patient. Go slow, slow, slow. You'll get to a point where these are all loose again, and evenly on each side. And what's the gap? Not much in the gaps. This one's super loose. You can see it. So I'm opening a valve partially. That one appeared to be the last tight, and I had quite a bit of gap over here. You get a feel. Then one more. That one's all the way down, so I almost went too fast. It takes 4 or 5 steps. All right, the centers, the caps are all the way down against the head. Heads of the bolts are right up on the cap. That was still loose. I switched sides. Gentle, gentle, easy, easy. Don't get in a hurry. Back here on this one. I'm just going until the head barely makes contact. Now I can feel that all the caps are down. And we're going to go back and check one more time. Very small amount of effort. Heads, that one was loose. Head's making contact. Head's making contact. Head's making contact. And I've turned the bolt just a little, got a very small amount of stretch. Very, very, maybe. Probably no stretch at all. Okay, so now's when you get your torque wrench out and set it to the exact torque that it's supposed to be. We'll do the same thing on this side. That was interesting. We can use that for what not to do. So remember, neutral location. I can see that's as good as it's going to get. See how the cam's rocking back and forth? When I look at this, lobe up here, it's touching the lash bucket. That one I've got clearance, that's on a base circle, that's on a base circle. This one's on an opening, we're trying to open, on an opening ramp, trying to open. Okay. If we look closely, you can see these slots right here, a hex slot where the wrench goes. So we're going to use that to turn our camshaft. You can turn it with these bolts up here, so these are big enough you'd be all right. So you could use that. But this is what we would be doing to adjust our valve latch. So immediately I got the wrench in here and it won't turn. What do you think? Why is that? The reason for that is we put in 2 pistons. Last 2 of the middle ones, they're at TDC. I still have the spark plugs in, so we need to turn the engine to, remember, that neutral position of the pistons. So I just turned the crankshaft to quarter turn. Half turn would get it about halfway in the cylinder, so now it should turn there. No longer hitting a valve, or valve's not hitting a piston anymore. So I should get full 360-degree rotation. And that cam, this cam, got caught in there. So both cams turn a full 360 degrees. So we're good. Then we can set our valve latch. We can also set our valve timing.